So, guys, welcome one and all. THORChain is the world's largest Bitcoin DEX. You can swap Bitcoin with 10 different blockchains across 39 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Pretty cool, you guys. You should check it out at swap.thorchain.org. One more time, swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There is no account to open, no KYC required, nothing like that. THORChain has two tokens, Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from swaps to purchase Rune, so you don't need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. Pretty cool. And 10% of the protocol revenue goes to TCY holders. You need to stake TCY tokens in order to collect this yield, but you don't need to churn in or churn out. So it's a little easier entry and exit. There are zero inflationary block rewards. Therefore, the yield is real money paid by real users. Rune is also deflationary, with 5% of the revenue is converted into Rune and burned. THORChain is turning into a full layer one with the ability to create smart contracts on it, similar to Ethereum. The community calls this app layer Regira and is being actively developed right now. It's super cool. And there was just a call to raise the caps for the lending feature. So pretty fun. We'll see what happens there. If you'd like to become a node operator and need some help, please reach out to @RuneTard on X, guys. He can help you get up and find a bond provider. And actually, we're going to be doing a video with a node operator Sunday that's going to be talking about what it's like to be a node operator. So keep an eye out for that. If you need help with THORChain in general, join the THORChain community Discord and Telegram. Links are for those are on thorchain.org. If you are a Go developer and would like to work on THORChain, please reach out to the man who just entered, Chad Barraford on X. Guys, please follow and share. We need to follow on our social media platforms. We need to reach certain thresholds. On TikTok, we need like 1,000 followers to live stream. So please follow all our social media. And always remember, this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. And with that out of the way, you guys, how's it going? I'm so pumped up. I'm really excited for this one. We've had a really fun week. I'm going to kick it to you, Kenton. What's going on, man?
Yeah, too much. Just trying to get caught up on stuff. Did another run through in the Masari dashboard, and so hopefully that'll be done soon. Website is coming together. I'm starting to see paint on the walls, so starting to look good. And so we're kind of hope both should be done by the end of February, and so we're pushing for that anyway. The swap interface, hopefully that should be like colors and everything should be aligned with the new site too. So that actually might go through first. We might actually have the swap interface colors and everything. I don't think you'll notice much of a difference, just be like the font type deal, but the structure and everything should be the same. Just slightly changes with the font and colors. The swap interface still plugging along. I think some of you guys already noticed limit orders are there. And I've not had time to play with them yet. So curious if anyone else has. Let me know how it goes. And actually, Chad, something I asked you about this in Discord about doing memoless trades on Rune, TCY, and Marucci. And you weren't sure if it's just Rune or if we can do all assets. But it's not on the swap interface yet because the API that they're pointing to doesn't have it sorted out. So Cal's got to figure something out, I think, on their end, on the Nine Realms API to get Rune being able to swap Rune through memoless. Yeah, so try and get that sorted out, and then hopefully we'll have the bond provider page, TCY page up here soon. Start working on that functionality to get the individual, like the features done. The way you can actually interact with THORChain. Start getting those pages up on the swap interface. And that's it. It's crypto week right now in Cayman. There's the first real kind of crypto conference going on. And I know the Cayman's pretty small, so you kind of know I know the guys putting it on, and probably know about half the people going. And I was out for dinner last night, met some cool people. I met the guy Lucas. behind Pudgy Penguins, and the guy doing his marketing, and the guy who runs our Wall Street Bets Twitter account. And so we're just talking about marketing and stuff. And like, so I got some ideas, some tips, and maybe somebody to work with. So we'll see. But no, it's pretty cool. I was actually kind of lucky to go on that dinner and meet those guys. Um, so hopefully that, 'cause something comes from that. Hopefully, but he gave me anyway. I got some good ideas on what to do, what not to do, and so we'll see how it goes. Um, that's about it.
Cool,
Yeah,
man. Awesome. That's I
yeah.
love to hear it. Yeah, when you meet people in real life, that just that's where really some magic happens. You can really get some new partnerships and learn some cool things. So I'm really excited about that. Hey Chad, how's it going, sir?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going very, very well. I've had a lot of questions in the short term because it just happened yesterday. People love that conversation you had with Familiar Cow and Devel on ADR 22. Um,
Mhm.
so, um, so yeah, maybe we'll just get kicked off right away. People like I have all these questions. Maybe just what came out of that conversation? Maybe I'll just ask you.
Can I interrupt
If
you
you could,
quick? And just in case
yeah,
people weren't there, the Chad
thank you.
and Familiar Cow and the guy who wrote, or one of the co-authors of ADR 22 had a were on a stage in Discord. Was it yesterday or the
Yes.
day before?
Yeah, I think it
Yesterday.
was yesterday. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I caught the first half and then I had to go. But that's what you're referring to, right, Patriot? That conversation.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
and thank you for, highlighting it. Yeah, it was a conversation
yeah.
that happened yesterday, and, ADR 22, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, if I don't describe this accurately, but it's about making an alteration to the Q logic or something like that when it comes to streaming swaps that are better for arbitrageurs. So maybe I'll kick it to you, Chad, so you can better describe it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was really like a two-part conversation. The first part was about, like, when you have a swap queue and you say you get, like, 10 swaps in the swap queue we're looking to execute, some trades or whatever. Like, how do you prioritize which goes first, which goes second, which goes fifth, which goes 10th, so forth and so on. And historically speaking, we've always designed this from like the algo for this has always been the same since the very, very beginning. We've never actually changed it before. And what that was largest trades go first, smallest trades go last, right? So you're just organizing by that. And the reason why it was done that way was for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want validators to pick the order. Like we don't want validators to be able to say, okay, you're going to go first and you're going to second, because that just creates MEV opportunities, and we want to not do that if we can avoid it. So like that was one of the kind of key thoughts. But the other thing was just like we kind of just modeled it after like the way Bitcoin works, right? Like Bitcoin, you have a gas, or they call it transaction fee, and who goes first and who goes last is like who pays the highest amount in fees, right? Like if you want your Bitcoin transaction to go really quickly, you can pay a lot of money. And I've seen people pay like $700, for a transaction fee on Bitcoin, historically
We
speaking. Like,
we we had a member of our own community pay 800 grand transaction fee uh, a
wow.
year or two ago. Do you remember that?
And I don't
I
remember. I mean,
I won't
I
say
don't
him
remember that.
I don't want to embarrass him, but the community rallied. It was some weird accident mistake, and the community rallied, found out which miner it went through. We got in touch with the miner or the mining pool, and they returned it. They gave it back to him.
Oh my god,
Sorry to
thank
interrupt
God,
you.
thank
Um,
God.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
like, no, no, it's fine. Like, so, yeah, so like you can opt to pay as much as you want, right? And the funny thing is that like how you pay it is kind of a funny thing in Bitcoin world. Like it's kind of a to me, I find it a little bit funny. It's like you're transferring like some amount of your Bitcoin like to someplace, and then you're returning some of it back to yourself. Like I get like a UTXO that's got like one Bitcoin. Half of it I'm sending it to like Patriot, and the other half I'm sending back myself. But I guess send myself a little bit less back, and that's basically what the fee is, right? Anyways, so we decided to model it after Bitcoin because Bitcoin's such a great protocol, well designed, protocol, and so we model it similar to that. That's what happened, right? Fast forward a few years, we introduced this new idea called streaming swaps, right? Because before that point, every swap happened in a single block, whatever the size of the trade is, the whole thing gets executed. And how much you pay in fees is relative to how large the trade is, right? But with streaming swaps, it's a little bit different because instead of looking at the size of the sub swap, we're looking at the size of the total swap, if that makes sense, right? And so there was some kind of complaints, if you want to call it that, around arbitrage bots making a very large trade, right? Like, I don't know how the size would be, but just one very large trade and getting the first sub swap or maybe the second sub swap to arbitrage a pool, and then the remainder of them would like fail on purpose. And so so it's a way of kind of like hacking in a way to get ahead of somebody else. So if you have a very large amount of money, you could kind of like front run, so to speak, if you wanted to, using this kind of technique. So there was like a discussion and debate back and forth between changing it from the size of the swap, like the total swap size, to like the size of the individual sub swap. And so by changing it to the individual sub swap, it gives more kind of an ability for more people to participate in this kind of auctioning off process. Like the interesting part about it is that like the larger your trade, the more you pay in fees, the less you're going to get out on the other side. So like less profits you're going to take as an arbitrage bot in that scenario. So in order to beat somebody else, right, you have to pay more in fees to get ahead of them. And if they want to beat you, they got to pay more fees than you. And then you have this kind of natural capitalistic markets, like whoever is willing to take the least amount in fees basically wins the auction between these, 3 or 4 arb bots or whatever's happening in the system. So that's the first conversation. There was a back and forth for a while on that. I think the eventual consensus was that we're going to switch to looking at the sub swap size instead of the total swap size to determine who's first, who's second. And so that's going to be changed probably in 3.16, the next release, which is coming out, I think, in like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, something like this. That's the first part. The second part that we kind of discussed about was should limit swaps and market swaps be treated differently in the sorting system, right? Should they be intertwined? If you guys remember, I kind of use this weird hand gesture
The wife
last
pleaser.
time. The wife teaser hand gesture from last week, right? Are they intertwined like this, or are they like first is this and then is that? And so the reason why I argued for first limit swaps and then market orders was because I wanted ARBs to use limit swaps to execute on trades, right? Because if an ARB was using limit swaps, they'd be much more useful in the context of rapid swaps when we enable rapid swaps in the near future, right? So that was my way of kind of like ensuring that all ARBs would use limit swaps to create the kind of order books and build up those kind of liquidity walls around the price, so that a streaming swap in a rapid swap scenario could be executed in a single block. So we had a conversation. We went back and forth. Me and Deval or Dev. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his Discord name, but and then Sick Time also kind of came into the conversation as well, which is great. We had a kind of conversation about it. We went back and forth, and then the synopsis was that I was going to go back and take a second look at some things and kind of reevaluate some sandwich possibilities and this kind of stuff. The sandwich possibilities, I don't think is that serious. Like it's technically on paper, it is feasible, but it's so the market has to be like a certain kind of way, and they're not very easy to execute, in my opinion. But even beside that, for a moment, what I ended up doing was I took a second look at the implementation of rapid swaps, and I found another way of actually solving the problem so that everybody gets what they want, right? And so what it is refactoring a little bit or making a small change to the logic of how rapid swaps works, so that it's much safer to execute even before you have the liquidity in those like liquidity walls to execute the trades, right? So the fear that I had, that I've always had about rapid swaps, why I have not flipped it on before this moment, was that if you're in a situation where somebody puts up a streaming swap and say there's 10 sub swaps within this streaming swap thing, and this is the only trade on the network, there's no other liquidity, there's no other trades, it's just this one thing, then hypothetically in a rapid swap scenario, all 10 trades would be executed in the same block, which means that each sub trade within it would never get a counterbalance, an arb pushing in the opposite direction to correct the pool price between each trade that you have. And so then you become like, you're just pushing the price down and down and down and down 10 times, each time getting less and less output, less and less tokens on the other side, which probably mathematically is not too dissimilar from just like doing one large trade versus 10 small trades, right? It's probably pretty close to each other. So I was afraid of that. Like I didn't want to break streaming swaps so that you don't get that great execution with a streaming swap. So I wanted to build the walls of liquidity around the protocol so that there would be a good amount of liquidity there to support the streaming swaps when RapidSwaps starts trading. So instead, I went back and I kind of found another way of thinking about rapid swaps to make it safer, so that in a sense that if that is a situation and you are the only swap and there's 10 swaps, it won't execute all 10 trades in one block. It'll do one trade per block, or maybe even two if you're at most, right? And so that improves it so that like when there isn't liquidity there, it just breaks from being an escalator into being like a staircase, right? And if that makes sense. Like streaming swaps just go back to being what they've always been and what they are in this current moment, and then rapid swaps just isn't available in this particular moment because there's no counterbalance or counter liquidity, or arbs aren't arbing, and therefore we just goes back to the regular old system, which we have right now, which is just fine, right? So with this code change, assuming it gets merged, which I hope it gets merged probably tomorrow or maybe Monday, it goes in 316. I think it'll be probably safe that we can actually flip rapid swaps on in 316, which would be great. And then once we do that, rapid swaps will kind of sort of disable itself sort of a little based upon if arbs are showing up to do the arb work or not. And so my hope is that, and this is what Sick Time was kind of advocating for, was that like if we build it, they will come kind of mentality. If it's old Field of Dreams reference, if you're not as old as me in the crowd, but the idea is hopefully we just will build it, we'll launch it, and then arbs will just show up and then provide the liquidity, and then rapid swaps will just start kind of happening naturally in the protocol.
So is there like you mentioned you're a bit worried about what could happen, the behavior, but it sounds like it would blow up THORChain, right? You might
No,
it would
no,
just
no.
kind of the pricing in the pool just get out of whack, and those trades would maybe get some worse pricing. You could always stop it, right? You could always halt
Yes.
trading or something. Like it's not
Or just turn off rapid swaps itself. Like you could just flip it off, right? We can flip it on
okay.
and we can flip it off too, right? So if
Yeah.
that's a situation where it's just not working, like there's not really much of a risk in terms of like blowing things up. I mean, there's always the risk of that. There's always like a divide by zero error, and the whole thing just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
crashes. Like that's always possible at any code change,
yeah.
but it's very, 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 very small, I'd say. And if there was, we just kind of flip it off and carry on and
Yeah.
fix the bug or whatever it is. What I didn't want to see happen, what I was most concerned about, was that like it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. The liquidity isn't there to support these rapid swaps, and people just start getting like bad trades. Like they just get not bad in the sense of like you lose all your money, whatever, but instead of paying 20 basis points, you pay 40 basis points or 50 basis
Yeah,
points or 60 or something like this. It's not like you would be like wrecked or anything like this.
yeah,
You would
yeah.
just pay a lot more in fees than you probably wanted to. And that, wouldn't be positive, but it wouldn't be the end of the world or anything like this, of course.
But this something that like when the update goes through and it's live that you're actually gonna kind of keep an eye on live, like for the first hour or two trading, and then if you are seeing that, okay, guys, we got to pause this and then
Yeah.
evaluate. Okay.
Yeah, I think what we'll probably do is we'll start with the small. Like, so you can enable. So rep swaps is not necessarily like an on or off, although you could treat it that way if you really wanted to. You can iterate, like you can specify the number of iterations. How many swaps how many times can a single swap be executed in a specific block? Is it one time? Is it 5 times? Is it 10 times? Is it 1,000 times? And so you can like configure it to be like just two. You can just do 2 trades per block for your streaming swap, no more than that. Or you can do 3 or 5 or 10 or 50 or 1,000, right? So I think like what we do is initially start off as like maybe like 2 or maybe even 5, probably no higher than 5, and then we watch the trades, watch the traffic, see if everything's looking good. If it's looking great, great. Most likely, what will happen is that initially there'll be not much of a change at all, and nothing will probably happen because arbs aren't really providing liquidity yet, so the network isn't quite, you know, doing what it's wants to be doing right quite yet. So it'll probably be like a big nothing burger, when we flip that on initially. But yes, we'll keep an eye on it over the coming days, weeks, or whatever. And if we see anything that we think is really improper, obviously we just flip it back off, or take whatever reasonable action that makes sense in the situation.
Do you guys know, has anyone actually started or is working on some kind of dashboard or interface to see the order book, to see all the limit orders on THORChain?
I don't think so. Well, I know Cow, Familiar Cow has on his Rune.tools website, there's an order book page. It's very basic. It's not really like a, graphs with it's very simple, which is fine. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing Cow in the least, but I would we'll love to see that once, especially once the feature kind of gets picked up more. And maybe in order to get picked up more, like one of the things that could happen is like the official THORChain, swap interface supports, the feature or whatever. But yes, like I think I'd love to see more development around that in the future.
Maybe I wonder if Huginn is, because Huginn, he's behind THORChain.net, right? This seems like a great feature to put on THORChain.net.
Yes, I think
Um,
he's the dev behind Midgard predominantly. And so building little kind of like statistical data, or like indexed data around order books, that's probably the person to kind of create the API endpoints to make it even simpler and easier. Although you could do it without it. Like you could do it right now without the Midgard kind of indexing rolled up information kind of thing. But it would be nice, to make it a little bit simpler and cleaner.
I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna make a note, remind myself.
Yeah, poke
Um,
'em.
That was actually one of the questions from the community for you, Chad. Was there any other dashboards for limit swaps? And because everyone knows about the Rune.tools one, so I'm glad you asked that, Kent, and you took care of one of my questions for me, buddy. So well done.
and
Yeah.
and like what Chad mentioned about putting on the official front end, yeah, I agree. I mean, eventually we want to have as much as we can. Right now, the way it works is you just see your own limit orders in the history button, history tab, but you can't see anybody else's. Um,
Yeah.
so I wonder if that'd maybe be part of like the pro uh, version of the site. When you go to pro, then you'll have access to app layer, and then you can see the full order book and all that kind of stuff. Where it needs to
Yes.
be granular. It's going to have to look like Binance. Well, for two reasons: one, to fit all of that info, but two, we want it to look familiar, right? We want to pull people from Binance and like Coinbase and Kraken. They're all copying each other. They all look similar, right? All their pro
Yeah, yeah.
interfaces. We want to do the same thing, right? We don't. There's no need to change it, and so it's an
Right. No,
easy.
there's a good reason to copy everybody else.
Yeah,
It's familiar.
yeah,
People know how to use it already. There's no like confusion or like,
mm,
learning curve to it in the same sense, because you've
yeah,
already used Kraken, you already used Binance, you already used Coinbase, you already use these guys. So it makes sense.
yeah.
I think the only time you'd really want to make a different UI is if you wanted to do something that's like a more like gamification, concept where it's more like not just like I'm trading, but I also want to have fun with this and treat it as a game and trade as a gaming interface,
Well,
which some people
so
are into.
I'm into it, guys. Comment like with Robinhood. That's how they became. Part of the reason they became huge is they turned their app into like a slot machine, right, with the confetti and all that, and they're giving people dopamine hits, and they turn these
Yeah,
people into trading addicts. And I want to do that too. Maybe not, as blatant as Robinhood, but like do something to have some dopamine hits in there to help, keep people hooked and engaged and interested. Um,
yeah.
but I mean, I know like talking like that, it's like, oh, I don't want to play those games and that's trashy. But it's like, well, that's our competition. It's like, don't hate the player, hate the game. And, if we don't do it, someone else is. And then,
Mhm.
it's so, I think there's a way to play some of these games without losing your uh,
Your
morals
ethos or
type deal.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You have to go full crazy degen retarded about it, but do a little bit, do something. So, but anyway, I'm thinking about that. Talking to the guys about that. They're like, we got to eventually start adding some stuff like that. So, have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
I've seen on Twitter a few times. There's like the price chart, and then there's this whole grid of prices, and you can click on the price. Like if you think, and the increments are like a fraction of a cent higher and below, and you click on, and then they go up based on time. And whichever one you click on, you're buying like, I think, an option that with that strike price and that expiration time, and it's basically almost like gambling. And and I'm like, something like that is going to come to, futures trading and perps trading and stuff like that, where it's just like you're just like, clicking a bingo card. And I think about stuff like that. Like I do think interfaces like that will succeed. So one day, guys, we'll come up with something like that. Yeah.
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 So, well, hopefully
Well,
with 316, we're going to hopefully see rapid swaps flipped, and we'll
that's
see
incredible.
Yeah.
if the community is ready for such efficiency.
My
Well,
body's ready.
you mentioned, so they really are only good if we have a deep, big order book, right? Am I
Yeah,
understanding that
the
right?
arbs need to arb. If the arbs aren't
Okay.
arbing, then it ain't going to help much, right? And which is, by the way, like that's already the case now. Like if arbs aren't arbing now, then like our pools are bad, the prices are bad. Unless you happen to be trading in the certain direction, then like you're going to get a bad trade with a bad execution, right?
Yeah.
So like this is nothing new. Like we've always been relying every AMM in the world, or every order book in the world, every spot of liquidity, it requires arbs to arb in order for it to be, maintain itself. So, but we just need them to be more advanced and be more engaged and do even like, deeper liquidity in a matter of speaking. And I think they will. Like, I don't think there's any question. Like, the money's there. The money, like the incentive for them to do so, the money's on the table. Somebody's just got to kind of pick it up off the table and like, walk off with it. So we're just creating the opportunity for that to happen. And as soon as the opportunity is available, some arbs like, I want that money. And I'll provide the liquidity.
Do you think it could be something like some random retail user comes along, places $1 million, Bitcoin streaming swap, and then after it's entered, the ARBs see that and then go boom, hammer it with a bunch of limit orders, and then
Yeah,
is it okay? Yeah.
yeah, it
And
can happen that way. Like you could put $1 million trade in. Arbors are like sleeping, let's just say, and then 5 blocks later, or even 10 minutes later, like whatever, right? And somebody just happens to notice, and they just put a limit order, or even a market order. Like it can be a market order, it can be a limit order. Like just like as long as the liquidity is being provided, it doesn't really
yeah,
matter if it's one or the other. And you just do a market order in the opposite direction, and it'll just be like, oh, hey, there's like 2 swaps. They're happening in like different directions, and then we're just kind of like swap, over and over, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until one of them expires of liquidity, or we hit the maximum number of uh, swap iterations in this particular block, whatever that number is configured at that particular moment.
yeah. So if someone's doing a huge trade, like let's say it's $10 million streaming swap, and it's going to take like 10 hours, and somebody comes in with a 500 grand trade going the opposite direction. Boom, that gets settled right away. Now we're at 9.5 million, and maybe that shaved 30 minutes off his time. And then someone comes in
Yeah,
with a $2 million trade the opposite direction. Boom, that gets filled. Now that's taken 2 hours off his time. And it just, whatever's left over, just keeps going like it was before.
right.
And okay.
The
Yeah.
caveat to that though is like that depends upon like the maximum number of iterations per block that we allow, and this is like an arbitrary number we can set as low or as high as we want. It doesn't really matter, but like the calculation that comes into like how high this number should be depends upon like, if you were to do a $2 million trade back and forth, like how many seconds would it take this protocol, this network to do this many trades back and forth? Like, is it half a second? Is it a second? Is it 30 minutes? Like, depending upon the quantity determines like how fast can it actually execute that many trades. And we don't want to be like not producing a block at all for like 30 minutes, because that would be, that'd be not good. We want to produce blocks, every 6 seconds, or even 10 seconds would be probably okay in this scenario, but like you still want to produce blocks. So you'd probably limit it at some number so that you can still produce blocks every, 6 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever the number might be, right? So you don't want to set to like just 2 million in a single block, because you'd probably wouldn't execute fast enough. But I think that's a part of the experimentation that we're going to have to do is like start small, and then kind of work our way up, and then just kind of watch the network and how long's the block times getting in those scenarios, and how do we want to do it? So if maybe we only do like $100,000 in a block, that way you're doing $100,000 per 6 seconds, and after a minute, you got like $1 million, right, in like a minute. Just
Gotcha.
depends upon the protocol. And then there's also like the work that we can do as developers of like, how can we improve the performance of this swapping back and forth, like other code improvements, right? And the way that the KV store is storing stuff and the way that the compute is being computed or whatever, like, are there like performance improvements that we can do to make these swaps faster so that we could do more per block without actually increasing the block time?
Well, another reason to go to 2-second block times that you have more room to play
Um,
with. Increase it back
You
up to
could,
6
you
would be
could.
able.
I'm not sure if it would
Oh,
improve this particular thing
okay.
substantially or not, but you could.
Okay. All right. Cool.
You
Well,
did
that's
mention
why. Go ahead, Pedro.
sorry, so you did mention about developing, gosh dang it, I want to bring up my questions here. You did mention about, you mentioned developers, like what you want to work on experiments. So I do have a question I want to sneak in real quick, if that's okay, because someone wanted to know, Chad, and I don't know who they are, but is Chad looking for a new developer for specifically what tasks on THORChain, or to help Chad with this overall work on THORChain? So the Go developer you're looking for, Chad, maybe you want to take a second to explain what exactly you're interested in, the skill set wise.
Yeah. So like it's gonna be pretty general. Our team is small enough where we don't have a lot of like focus, right? Um, Star Squid and one other person are working on predominantly Bifrost changes. But this person will probably join more so with me on the Thor node side of things. And predominantly like with this, is just like obviously just making code changes, helping me, monitor the main network for any particular issues or whatever, root cause analysis. Whenever there's a bug or an issue or a trade that happened weird or something that happened unexpectedly or whatever, we do a root cause analysis. Maybe even do something called the 5 whys. I don't know if how people know about the 5 whys, but that's an interesting thing people should know about. Anyways, like to help me just kind of with the day-to-day stuff on the protocol. I think long term, we're probably not going to be making like humongous code changes into the future. Where there's a few more we're focused on in like over the next 6 months or so. But I'm trying to gear the protocol towards like solidifying and ossifying the code and then really focusing on the code quality, the code performance, the code cleanliness, and just kind of get things real tight.
So, okay, if there's someone listening to this live or the recording of this, where can they reach out? How do they get contact with you? They say, I want the job. How do they reach you?
Discord's probably the best way, to be honest. Hit me up on Discord. I'm Son of Odin on Discord, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. Yeah, hit me there, and I'll be happy to look at your resume, your GitHub, your LinkedIn, whatever.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, we got that question away. Just because you're talking about developers, I'm like, I better sneak it in. Kenton, were you saying something? I want to kick it back to you just in case.
No, it's all good. Great question. I did go to look at your job ad on LinkedIn, and it says it's closed. Like you're not accepting anymore. Is that
Oh yeah.
correct?
I'm
Is
actually
that
it's not actually closed. This is a little bit embarrassing, but like when I opened the job thing on LinkedIn, it said, "Hey, do you want this free like promoted thing for like 2 days? You get like free promotions, like $200 of value of like promoting your post." And I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll just do it for 2 days and I'll like cancel it." But I couldn't figure out how to cancel it. I went through all the LinkedIn website and I just like could not. Where's the promotion? Because
Oh man.
it's not gonna charge me like $117 a day, and I just don't want to pay it, to be honest with you. And I'm just like
Yeah.
looking through the website trying to find the effing thing, and I could not find it. I'm like, I'm just gonna close the job at this point because I cannot find it, and I'll just reopen it later if I really need to. But I already had like 40, 50 submissions, at that point anyway. So I had like a decent amount of people, and if I don't like anybody in this particular round, then I'll just go ahead and reopen it again. And this time not do the promoted thing because I think they purposely make it
Oh yeah.
difficult for you to actually be able to cancel the thing just so they can start
Yeah.
collecting money on people who just are too lazy or like forget or whatever, just like hundreds of dollars from. So I'm just like, I don't want to play this game. So I'm just going to close it
That's,
for now and then I'll reopen it later.
that's exactly what I'm talking about the game. All these, that's why everybody hates, big corporations because they'll play these games, and it's like, it's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
But that's what they guaranteed. They bank on that. They get an extra few days out of you, extra month subscription or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd applied. I was watching. I subscribed to like CBS or something to watch. 'Cause they had the new Star Trek was on being streamed. It's like I don't know, like 10 years ago. The Star Trek reboot going through CBS or something, Paramount or I don't know. $5 a month.
Paramount.
I could not cancel it for my life, and I'm like, "This it's just driving me nuts." And like I spent hours trying to figure out how to cancel $5 a month. Um, uh, well, this is the banking system, right? That's why they don't want to. This is part of the push
Yeah.
against.
They trap you in it.
Um, is my internet bad? Sorry, guys.
No,
Am I back?
I can hear you.
you're a
Okay.
little pixelated, but I can hear you. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
good. You're
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
So this is
Fine.
the thing with the banking system that they don't want to support stable coins and the Genius Act and all that kind of stuff is they make when you send a a transfer, it takes a few days to go through. You can't banks close on a Friday. You have to wait till Monday before you can transfer money. In those few days that they're holding your money, that's a few days of interest that they get to keep, right? Same with like
Yeah.
stocks. When you buy and sell stocks in the stock market, used to be a 3-day settlement. Now I think they changed it to 2 days. But in those few days settlement, the market makers and whatnot, they can make some money, right? They can have some fun in those few days, and it's not about they don't want that gig to end because they make
Yeah.
so much money doing it, and
Yeah.
so
It's
just
the
it's all a
brilliance
game.
behind like free trials where they like, hey, we'll give you a 7-day free trial, and they just know that like 80% of people are just like, oh, I'm just gonna forget to cancel this thing
Yeah,
because it happens all
yeah,
the time. And then just like, all of a sudden it's like 6 months later, it's like, what is this $7 a month charge I'm paying?
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
even know what it is.
Reminds me what you said last week, chat, when you're talking about like where you're still using the Pony Express for, basic,
Yeah.
transactions and stuff. And blockchain clearly is superior. I mean, everything Kenton just said there, I've experienced it myself. And I mean, once you go blockchain, you don't go back. I mean, it's obviously superior in every single way. So,
Yeah.
so,
yep.
so frustrating using TradFi. Oh my god,
Oh my
like
God. Yeah.
it's yeah,
I had some old stock I forgot about, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I got some stock here," and I was trying to sell it, and I was getting so frustrated. Why want to sell? Why want to sell? I don't understand. And then I'm like, "Oh, it's 8 p.m. on a Sunday. The stock market's closed." Like I'm so used to THORChain. I'm so used to THORChain just doing whatever I want whenever I want. I completely forgot that the stock market is the
Stocks will
thing
catch
that
up.
opens and closes.
They'll
Yeah,
catch up for sure. That's
I think so.
happening. So
Yeah, I
they're
feel like
gonna be tokenizing the New York Stock Exchange, and then they'll be trading 24/7. I don't know how they're gonna do like circuit breakers because they still need to do circuit breakers, to pause trading when in times of panic, like 9/11 is a good example of that, where they pause trading on the network on the network, the New York Stock Exchange pause all trading after 9/11. People were panicking for obvious reasons, but it's gonna happen for sure.
do
Yeah.
you need circuit breakers? I don't know. Is there
I
really?
think
I mean,
I think so. I mean, I'm not expressing my own personal opinion here. The industry's viewpoint is yes. Like the president always needs to have the ability to pause all trading of the Nasdaq or whatever in times of panic, just to stop panic selling, so that they can say something to the United States of America and put all of our fears at rest. And 2008's not happening again, and whatever.
so do you okay, so tokenized stocks. I haven't thought about this a lot. Like, that's something maybe the app layer could offer, but if this I'm assuming they would be centralized control. So how do you think that would work? Like
Yeah, I
can
mean,
you trade
if I
stocks in a decentralized way?
you could, I mean, it's probably happening. They're not going to pick THORChain for that, obviously. I mean, I would say yes if they wanted me. If they came to me and knocked on my door and asked, of course. But they're going to want a faster block than what we have. They're going to want. They'd probably go like base chain most likely. They probably wouldn't do Ethereum. It's too expensive. It's too slow. I know that Ethereum's got like a good roadmap and things might be different in the
yeah.
distant future.
I thought Vitalik's and L2s are done with. We don't need them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's right. I mean, Vitalik's a smart guy. You think give him credit, but I still think they're going to want to have something that's less decentralized. And Base Chain's probably a good selection because it's Coinbase. It's an American company. It is the largest American crypto country in our country. I would argue, or at least up there. It's run by a corporation that can be managed by the government. It's fast. It's cheap. So if it was me, if I was the New York Stock Exchange kind of ambassador or whatever, I'd probably lean towards for their needs and what's important to them and what they like. I wouldn't do it personally. Like I would pick something like Solana personally or something like this. Now, it's a fast block time, but still somewhat decentralized at least. But they probably would go base chain. I would suspect.
Isn't Novogratz? Isn't he putting something on Solana? Is it the Galaxy shares or something? I thought he's doing a
Yeah,
tokenized
I think I
stuff
heard
on
something
Solana.
like that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but Novogratz is a bit more of a purist, right? Novogratz
yeah,
is not as pure as like Satoshi or something like Eric Voorhees or whatever, but he's more purist than Jerome Powell, right, or
yeah.
somebody like this.
And I mean, I know he's not as maybe as big or influential as say Brian Armstrong on Coinbase, but he is still influential. So maybe
Yeah, for sure he is. I mean, he runs the largest institutional investment, I think, in the United
yeah,
States, or at least close to it.
yeah.
How do you guys see this planning out? Like, okay, maybe stocks go on Coinbase, they go on base chain, but like, what about stocks from other countries? Are they all going to like compete on different chains, or do you think there's going to be a unified structure? Like, how do you think that's going to work?
I,
Like
I,
Russian stocks, who's going to do that?
it should be a unified structure, but it won't be because every government's going to want their own. They're gonna fork base chain or something like that, and create their own chain that they control. That they can like. You wouldn't want Russian, or the Japanese exchange on the American, base chain controlled American controlled system. Like that's just like a recipe for a disaster, right? Like you don't want be in a situation where we go to
Right.
war with Japan and all of a sudden we just shut off their their trading, like that would be an absolute disaster. So like similar to like fiat currencies, like every country, no matter who you are, you're always going to want, unless you're like some really small uh, country that can barely even run a fiat currency, but like you're always going to want your own currency that you can arbitrarily expand and contract however you want as a tool to combat any kind of economic situation that you want, right? Like as much as we hate inflation from a mathematical or a theoretical perspective, inflation is a really great tool from a government's perspective because they can just reallocate money from anywhere to anywhere arbitrarily to fund whatever thing, like fund a war, fund COVID vaccinations, fund whatever it is they think is like super important in this particular moment. You know, like they're always going to cling on to that power. It's very few countries are ever going to move to an actual properly decentralized fiat currency like a Bitcoin or something like it.
Is
They
there
only
not a
will
competitive advantage? Go ahead.
no, you go. I say they
Oh,
only will
okay.
only if they're forced to. They'll never do it voluntarily, but that might be the
Yeah,
only possible way for any semblance of government to exist within a country if they do adopt the Bitcoin standard. If there's enough demand from the populace that hey, we're done with your currency, that
I don't know.
that's
I
possible.
sincerely, like maybe that could be in some extreme situations where you have like an uprising, right? And we've seen something very close to that happen in like Lebanon, for example. We've seen some kind of crazy shit happen in like 2013. What's it called? The sea off of the coast of um,
Cyprus,
Greece. Cyprus,
Cyprus.
thank you. Cyprus also had some crazy stuff happen as well, but like it's, I'm not sure how much the government really cares about popular opinion. Like look at the Epstein files are super popular, right? In terms of like we should release all the Epstein files. Like there's very few people out there saying like we should keep the Epstein files like secret. Like there's not anybody, whether you're MAGA or left wing or right wing or whatever. Like everybody universally kind of agrees with this statement, but yet here we are, and like they're not public at all, and like half the files haven't been released, and the ones we have been released are redacted in ways that they shouldn't be redacted. It's against the law. And even when the Congress goes to see the unredacted versions, it's still redacted. You know what I mean? Like it's there's still such resistance to doing something like that. So I'm not sure how much popular opinion really kind of shapes these things sometimes.
I'm curious. I totally agree with that, by the way. I'm curious Is there not, like, game theory wise, a competitive advantage for a country, whatever country, maybe Argentina, maybe Mexico or whatever, where they say, okay, you can, maybe they pick Solana, maybe they pick Ethereum, I don't know. They say, if you're a business in our country, you can have tokenized stocks on chain, just on a base chain, and anyone in the world can invest your companies. Like, would that not like increase the chance for people to invest in like their country? Like, for
I
example,
I can
I want to invest in a silver mine in Mexico,
I can
right?
answer you.
Well, go ahead.
I think no. So a lot of people came in betting on this. So Cayman Islands is a hedge fund capital of the world, right? There's like 30, 40,000 some funds here or something, and the reason is because it's tax neutral. So you can have this master entity, and you can have all these feeder funds going into it. You can have a U.S. entity going in, a U.K. entity, uh, Argentine entity, whatever, right? And everything's happening at the master level in this tax neutral environment, and that's what goes and does all the business. And then these individual entities, individual feeders, adhere to those local government rules and restrictions. The With crypto, this whole foundation, like DAO foundations, the foundation structure has become really popular, which is like a glorified trust. And the idea with a foundation is there's no real owner of it. Like there's like shareholders, but they don't really own it or control it. And this is how like a lot of crypto projects are getting set up. And the foundation owns and controls the tokens, but there's no like actual real individual in control. It's the foundation. And then this foundation is tax neutral and can go do whatever. And these tokens live on Ethereum or Solana or whatever chain you want and can go do whatever. And then that foundation, there might be a US entity or whatever entity that feeds into it. But it's the Cayman Foundation, which is neutral and going doing its thing. And so right now, I think there's like 1,400 foundations that came in. You know, some people are betting, expecting it's going to go up. It's going to be as bigger, more than funds, because this is how companies are going to start listing themselves. Instead of being a stock on the New York Stock Exchange, you're going to set up a Cayman Foundation, create tokens. You can access capital on the entire planet. The only reason you list your money, your stock on a New York Stock Exchange, because you want to access that liquidity, right? We talk about THORChain, Bitcoin liquidity, right? You want access to layer one liquidity, you come to THORChain, right? You go to New York Stock Exchange because there's all this money that trades on the exchange, and there's U.S. entities and firms and funds that are mandated to only trade there, right? And then people familiar, and that's
Right.
where the
And
capital is.
ETFs.
Yeah, um, but and in a lot of capital, they don't want to invest in, say, the UK or Australia or Argentina because you're getting messy with their tax codes and regulations and whatever. This is where Cayman came in and jumped in, like, hey, we're going to give you a very clean, simple, easy, no bull structure that anyone in the world can invest in, and it's very easy. And so I think that's what's going to happen. We're going to, instead of countries listing in their home country per se, they're going to come set up a Cayman Foundation, raise money that way, and then through that maybe have something go back to their whatever country they want to do business. But everything will flow up to the foundation, to those tokens, and those tokens will be trading on whatever chain, all permissionless, all decentralized. So I think I can see that. I can see it going that way. I don't think these governments are forward thinking enough to even see that coming and to even try and,
They never are.
like, even Cayman is behind on this, but they're catching up, and people are pushing it forward. It's only because it's small. It's a small jurisdiction. It's easy to kind of like get influence and make things happen. But yeah, they're definitely, like, Switzerland is terrible now. They can't. Their foundation structure is terrible. Everyone's kind of moving to Cayman. So anyway, I th- I can s- I mean, I'm speculating. I don't know for sure, right? But I can see that being the
Sure.
answer to what you're asking, Patriot.
So what you're saying is the first that use THORChain to put their liquidity, their stock on, is the first one that wins, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna have the token launchpad on that layer, right? And the whole idea is that they'll
Yes.
be able to tap into Bitcoin, or any base layer L1 liquidity, and that is the point. Is tap Where is the liquidity? Where's the money coming from? And it'd be very easy for somebody. you launch a token on THORChain. I mean, it's very easy with someone with Bitcoin to invest in that token, right? It's seamless, right? It's not. There's very little friction. Um, so yeah, money goes. Money is like water. It moves where the path of least resistance, right?
Mhm.
So,
Right.
um, I just got a visual. So, have you guys seen like I saw something? It's like a video of um, like a stream that was kind of running into the ocean. It was just a trickle, and then some guy started kind of digging out the sand, and the current picked up a bit, and as it picked up, it was doing more erosion, and
Mhm.
as it got faster, it was more erosion, and it just took off, and it turned into like this gushing, like almost like a river. And I keep thinking this is going to be THORChain. Like we're just
Yep.
going to pick up something. The stream's going to get a little bit more, and the erosion's going to take over. We're just get this flood of liquidity just coming our way. 'Cause it's just easy. There's no barrier. And,
Mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah.
sorry,
And then and no,
ram
no, no, no. And you did. You used a lot of hand gestures in that explanation, like Chad. So Chad, I think you're starting something here. I mean, I've been thinking about the rune bond side. Like, how do I do this? Like, okay, here's a node, and here's you with your rune. And what you want to do is,
I see.
and
I
when
should
you
get
pull
better
the
about
node out,
I
using.
it's
heard it. What are you
bigger.
talking about?
I should get better using less hands because because like some people are just listening to this and they're not actually watching my ugly face explain this stuff. So I get
The
better with
hands, the
not
hands are
using my
gold. The
hands.
hands are gold. Please keep it with the
Yeah,
hands. You know what I mean? Do whatever you got to do. You know what I mean? It works. I'm telling you. I love it. It's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think, I was talking with Coke actually about this today. I mean, the first principles of THORChain, what we're following, they just work, right? It's harder what we're doing, but decentralized access to permissionless non KYC liquidity, right? Arbitrage by anon arbitrageurs, building an app layer on top of that. It just feels right. Feels like we're doing something here that's just going to change the game. I mean,
yeah,
I love it. I can't get enough of it. So when stocks on THORChain? That's what I want to know. When stocks on
yeah,
That'd be
THORChain?
pretty awesome.
It
yeah.
would be sick. It'd be sick.
Even just
Oh,
like an NFT project launching or some even if it's a pump and dump, like like just something. This is like proof of concept that somebody wants to launch their token on THORChain. Like, um, I think that'd be cool. Like it's
Yeah.
I'd like to think that they would be much more legitimate than crappy. Like I still don't all those projects that launch on Solana. I don't know. I can't help but feel. I wonder if they're just like bots. It's all like a couple people. 1,000 monkeys behind 1,000 computers type thing. It's not real. They're just like
Hmm.
fabricating it all. Um,
Hmm.
Whereas I don't see anyone in THORChain ecosystem doing anything like that. So if somebody's launching a token on THORChain, it's a real project. It's real people behind it. So um, be really cool to see that.
Yeah.
indeed. Chad, I do have a question for you.
Yeah. Shoot.
So this is a bit of a long-winded one here. I'm trying to condense it. The person's not a native English speaker. So, okay, here we go. We have new pools like Base and Tron that have a depth of less than 100,000. And soon there will be Solana, ZEC, and others, blah, blah, blah. In the best case scenario, the treasury will add 100,000 to each of them, and it is unlikely that anyone else will add liquidity as there's no economic incentive to do so. I, create a pool with TWT and I'm not getting any yield at all. It is charity, nothing more. Although the pool is quite active given its liquidity and bringing its volume. So in general, what are Chad's thoughts on this matter? Should the protocol increase liquidity in base level pools or not? If so, yeah, I try to condense
Well,
as much as I could.
so so first of all, I would disagree with the statement that there's like no incentive to add liquidity to those pools. There's actually like I would argue there's more incentive to add into those smaller pools than there is into like Bitcoin. And the reason why is because Bitcoin is so deep and there's just so many, so much other BTC already in the pool that like there's a lot of hands to be fed when you're kind of feeding from the fees that collects, right? And so there's, because there's more, people involved, there's more mouths to be fed and each person gets kind of a smaller amount. But in these like very new pools, like Solana, for example, where there's probably not going to be a lot of LPs, like the treasury makes a good amount of money, more money in the smaller pools than it does in the larger pools, to be honest with you. Right? From what I recall, last time I had a conversation with JP about this, which was quite a few months ago, but like the smaller pools actually is where we get a higher interest rate in terms of like, APY or whatever. So I would disagree with that kind of sentiment to begin with. I think it makes sense to, and like, you don't believe me, then just like, well, on Solana, for example, and just look at the yield, for the pool. Like, it's not that hard. Um, the next question was like, are we going to put more money into it or not?
Yeah, deepening the pools, basically.
I mean, that becomes more of a question from like a treasury's perspective rather than a protocol perspective. Like, the treasury exists, it has, I don't even know how much money is in the treasury right now. I can't even remember, but like, we have a fiscal responsibility as the treasury to, allocate those funds responsibly and effectively. We have lots of responsibilities to pay, everybody from, Discord people to dashboards to, my salary and, everything else, right? And that's, we have a burn rate with that, and we have to be cognizant of that, and we can't just like shoving money everywhere, arbitrarily, especially in like markets like now where the market's not the greatest, and there's less kind of flowing of capital going around and that kind of stuff. So I doubt the treasury would be willing to put more than 100,000 unless there's like a strong incentive to do so. Like, the Solana pool is actually really profitable, and it actually just makes financial sense from the treasury perspective to put money more. Like, that might be the case, but I think we're going to start with 100,000 each, and maybe even withdraw the 100,000 at some point in the future. Like, if it grows to a certain amount and we want to reclaim our 100,000 so that we can redeploy that same 100,000 into some other new pool or something like this, right? That might be the case into the future once things kind of like propagate well enough.
Chad, have
There we go.
you
There we go. Appreciate
put
it.
any more thought into my idea about uh, having a manual control over the protocol on liquidity and being able to manually direct, for us to pull, liquidity out of Bitcoin pool and put it on their pools. Maybe instead of relying on the treasury to see new pools, we can use the POL to see new pools. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't thought much about it since then. Though I do like, I do like the idea in general. I think I would. I'm not sure how I feel about have it being a manual process, versus like a algorithmic process of like deciding how much capital should flow based upon, the depth of the pool, or the relative to the volume that is being seen. And then you also have to calculate about how much money you lose just by moving out and then into another pool, because if you take out $50,000, let's just say, and then move it to another pool, you're gonna enter the next pool with 45, right, or 40,000 or whatever the number is going to be, right? And so you have to like keep that into account. So I haven't thought about in depth, but I do like the idea in general.
okay, cool. Yeah, I was thinking
And
about.
to answer a
Oh,
to answer a question in the audience and in the chat of like who controls the treasury, it is a multi-sig controlled by a handful of people. I don't think I need really to disclose like who those individuals are. I don't think it's really necessary right now, but it is a 2 or 3 multi-sig that a handful of people have access to.
cool.
There you go. Very good. Okay, let me think here. I don't think I have any other questions from the community, guys. Please, if you guys have any questions, this is an open stage. People can join. We do have the links in the whether we're streaming from. You can check that and get on here. But please answer any questions you have. So, Chad, actually, I do have one question.
Yep.
Everyone wants a Huginn update. Everyone wants to know what's going on with AI. So,
So
how's
it's
that
actually
going this week?
it's going well. Like, it's so on. I think it was Friday night. I pretty much spent my entire weekend this past weekend working on Huginn. And so I think I'm starting on Friday night. I was messing about with it, trying to improve the way it does like a code audit, right? Like, one of the things I want to do with it is I want it to be a continuously auditing the code, like just like literally like around the clock, just constantly just like rereading the lines of code and finding bugs or issues or security flaws or whatever it is, right? And so I rewrote it in a way, and just to set the context, like the last time I did a code audit, it took about I want to say 4 or 5 hours for the code to execute. It didn't even audit like all of the code. It's focused on like the primary files, like the most meatiest files, if you want to call it that. And it found like 110-ish things, and then we actually opened and fixed 25 of those 110 things that it found. So a bunch of those things were just like either it was a false positive, hallucination, or like it was like an issue, but like it's probably not even good to even fix this thing. So we're just going to go ahead and close it or whatever. Right. So we had this kind of high, there's almost like an 80% chance that we were going to like just basically throw in the trash, whatever this thing that it was we're talking about. So I was curious about to reduce the false positives and get a much greater signal to noise ratio about when it finds an issue to have 3 separate agents be spun up using what's called subagents, and they each individually like verify the issue to like independently and in a adversarial almost way to forcibly agree or disagree, and it goes by a simple majority, so 2/3 wins. And by doing so, it actually went from like 80% false positives or like bad issues to 20%. So just by like throwing more AI tokens at the problem, it did greatly increase its signal to finding legitimate bugs or issues that could actually be fixed. So it found like it ran for like I think it was like 2 or 3 days, and it didn't even finish because I had consumed the entire week of my, or very close to the entire week of my of my tokens for my like I have a Claude Max plan, which is like the most expensive plan, right? It's like a $200 a month plan that I'm just using my own, you know, API token key basically, and it consumed almost the entire thing in like 2 days or 3 days, whatever it was. And I ended up having to shut it down because I actually wanted to use Claude like during the week to do my actual like job, right? So it didn't even finish. It got like 3/4 the way through of all the work that it was trying to do. And it finally it found once again, I found like another 110 like GitLab issues that it created. And I think like 83 or 85 of them were like legitimate issues that we could go ahead and patch. Very few of those issues were actually like significant issues. Like I don't think there was anything significant that I found. Like nothing I was really worried about. But like, oh yeah, we don't handle this error, well. We should have returned the error here. We weren't returning the error here, or something very small like this. But like it's an easy thing to miss when you're writing code or even reviewing it. And it found it. So like it's almost like like an advanced linter, if that makes sense. Like I don't know if people know what linters means, but it's a kind of a better linter in some way, shape, or form, at least in this current iteration. So now it has like 83 issues that it has backlogged, and it's constantly is creating, as it maintains 3 open MRs, which you just had up on your screen a second ago. And it has 3 open MRs that it's like fixing at any given time, waiting for humans to review it. So I review it typically, and then one of the other developers does, and then it merges to something, and then it just once it gets merged, like another one gets opened, and we comment, and just keep on doing that. Just keep on doing that over and over and over again. So I've made a lot of progress. I'm now like down to like approximately like a 20% kind of like false positive or duplicate kind of scenario. I think I can have it the next time. I'm quite confident I can get down to like 10% on the next iteration, which will probably be in a couple weeks. So it's going like quite well. It's interesting to see that you can just like throw more tokens at the problem, and it makes it better, right? Like it's not like you can't make it perfect, because there probably are diminishing returns. Like if we instead of doing 3 verifications, we did 5 verifications, we probably would get a better outcome, but you'd spend almost twice the number of tokens, but probably get like a 10% improvement or something like this, right? So there is going to be like a cost analysis kind of aspect to all this. Yeah, you're bringing up one of the issues that it's resolving or resolved. Which one is this one? Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
love how it strokes your ego. I love that. It's this whole heed wise, cancel wise. I love that stuff. It's hilarious. Go ahead.
Well,
yeah,
Sorry.
I threw into
AI,
it.
he told it to talk to him like that.
I did. I added like, oh, you're part of the Norse mythology. Please, speak to me with that tone or something like this. I kind of added in the prompt just for the giggles. You know what I mean? Just for the giggles. I also have it now doing code reviews for the first time. And so now it's reviewing all of my PRs by default. So that'll be starting probably tomorrow. I'm not starting today because I have to wait for the 1 week to like renew so I can get access to my my tokens again, my API tokens for Claude. But probably today or later today or tomorrow, I'll probably have it start just running through every one of my personal open MRs and just start commenting and leaving comments or improvements or whatever it is, and then eventually we'll just put it on by default for all code changes or all PRs. But that's coming up in the near future as well. But it's fun to see that it's getting much better with each iteration, and I think like soon enough, like when there's a code reviews, I want to start like tracking like how long did it take to do a full code review of the entire code base, how many API tokens did it consume, both input and output tokens, how many GitLab issues did it find? How many false positives did it find? How many this? How many that? And start collecting like data and metrics. And then maybe one day when I have more time, I'll even create like a website like Huginn.com or whatever the website's going to be. And you can actually see like see what it's working on, what it's done, and comments that's left, and like how many issues it's created, and metrics and data, just to see like what it's doing and how it's been performing and how much has it contributed to the protocol.
And I think it's incredible. So when you say, I think you said API tokens, right? That's the amount of usage that you're allotted per week with
Yes.
Huginn. If you pay more money, I'm assuming you can increase those amount of tokens. I assume.
Yes and no. So like the plan I have now is the highest plan from a subscription perspective, right? And that's like a $200 flat, a
Got you.
month, right? But then you can use like API tokens where you pay as you go, right? But that's like so much more expensive than what I'm doing right now. Like
I'm
like a
sure
like
it
a
is.
lot, right? Like Opus 4.6 is like 4 times more expensive than Codex 5.3. Like I like Opus, I like Claude. It's what I use. It's my personal favorite. But to be honest, it's not 4 times better than Codex, 5.3. So it's like if we did go to a model where you have to pay as you go, which I'm trying not to do that because I don't want to spend money if I don't have to spend money, kind of thing. But for right now, I'm just trying to I have to get it to move slower so that it doesn't burn all of my flipping tokens. But I also would imagine that as time goes on, the amount of tokens I'm allotted per week will probably increase, right? Because even like now running AI, generative AI LLMs in general are like 100 or maybe even 1,000 times cheaper than it was in like 2022 or 2023. So like I would imagine that like in a year or 2 years, I'll just have more allocated to me and it'll just be cheaper and faster and things will just naturally get better without me actually lifting a finger.
When you go over like what it finds and suggests, do you ever like kind of stop and think like, ah, like I man, like I never would have seen that. Like it's pretty interesting that it caught it. And it's like kind of like meeting a interesting person, like, that has
Yeah.
like funny jokes or they use weird words or whatever. Like I just don't think like that. Is it like that when you kind of see this AI? Is it
Well, most of the issues that it finds are not complicated issues, right? Like this is the big difference between multipartite and Claude. Is that multipartite would do these really deep dives into the code in a way that Claude is not really capable of doing. Like Claude's not great. I've noticed through this Hugin process that like it doesn't really understand layers of abstraction very well. I'm not sure if if that makes sense to the audience, but it's like separating the code as in like separate components, so that whenever you're editing code, like one of the technical imperatives, like one of the most important things if you're writing code, this is a nice little lesson for anybody out there who writes code. One of the technical imperatives is like you want as few of the code or a few lines of code in your head when you're editing any particular line of code. Like that's like the one of the kind of overarching goals of writing any code base in the world. You don't want to have the entire code base in your brain in order to change this one line. Ideally, you want as little as the code to make this one little kind of code change. And that's what, in order to achieve that, you need to have like layers of abstraction, right? And layers of abstraction is a useful tool and stuff. You can overdo it where it gets overly complicated and actually causes more problems than it solves. But I've noticed that Opus is not necessarily great at it. And arguably, you could say part of the issue is that my prompts are not good enough. And maybe that's the case, and I'll be experimenting and hopefully improving that with time. But there is some concerns about that. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure if I answered your question.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I kind of have
Yeah,
a question about Huginn. I don't know if you want to keep going on this
Keep
yeah.
going.
Patriot, or maybe I want to change the subject a little bit.
I
You
think
wanna
it's you do whatever you want to. I'm super interested in this topic, so if you want to keep going, go for it. If not, that'd be good.
So, I don't know if you remember, Chad, I brought this up, I don't know, maybe a month ago or 6 weeks ago, um, that about the total token supply, or the max token supply is 500 million rune, sorry.
Mhm.
And, we kept it. We used to need that room for lending. We burnt the backup reserve, and we had this extra token room for tokens because of lending, the mint new rune. Now, as lending is gone, we don't need that room. And so the total token supply, the burn is taking it down just below 425 million. And so I was thinking, once we got below 425, nice round number, we can change the max rune supply, the Mimir setting, change it to 425 million, so that when we, go update these other, like CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, our max supply is lower and just makes our tokenomics look more attractive. And um, and you mentioned, it'd be nice to use AI to kind of like find out in the code if we do change the max supply, will that have any other repercussions? Like, is there anything else kind of, um, that are, sorry, I'm tripping up. I'm brain farting. You know what I'm trying to say? Is it going to affect anything
Yeah.
else in the code? Is this something that you can ask Huginn? If we change it, will it have any impact anywhere else?
Well, so the max supply of 500,000 is just
500 million?
or whatever it is. I think it's or 500 million. Excuse me. Yes. That is right now. That's just a configuration of the network on Mimir, more specifically, right?
Yeah.
And it's only there. Its only purpose for even existing is to say, like, at the end of every block, the network just says, "Hey, is there more rune than 500 million? No? Okay, cool." Or if the answer is yes, I'm like, "Oh, something's weird. Something's broken. There's an infinite mint bug or whatever the hell situation is." We gotta halt the chain, right, and just like pause everything. Something's awry. We need the devs to kind of stick their nose to the situation and figure out what the problem is, and then fix it, whatever the problem is. So this idea, the 500 million thing, like really, it's just like a configuration. And even if you were to change that configuration from 500 million to 800 million, or something smaller, as long as we don't go below how much rune actually is circulate, like exists within the network now, which is I think you said it was 420 or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is off
Four,
the top of my head.
424,890,000.
Yeah, whatever the number is, as long as it's not below that number,
Yeah.
then it's probably fine. So it's like it's
Well,
really
then,
just like a vote. And
yeah,
that's,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead. You're right.
It's just a Mimir change. And
Yeah.
and if anything, it's actually, we should do it, because if there is a bug, some kind of infinite mid bug, yeah, it'll cap out at 500 million, but now we've got 75 million rune that was just minted. So more reason for us to change it, as opposed to just making the tokenomics look good.
Yeah.
It just helps further protect us, just in case there's something happens.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could set it to like 424 million, whatever the number is, and then the next day it'll be less than that, right? Because we are burning tokens, like every
Yeah,
day
like
we
I'm
will.
not. Yeah, I think we just set it to 425. It's good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, like we don't have to. I understand a purist might want to keep dropping it. I don't know if that's possible or necessary.
Probably doesn't really matter that much, to be honest with you. I'm not even sure dropping it from 500 to 425 really matters either, to be honest.
Well, I'm thinking more for just optics, right? Because all these platforms ask for your max supply, And I
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
conversation with the institutional investor about it, a few weeks ago, and that was one of his questions. And then I have to explain to him, well, but it's not going to be that much. We don't need to. Block rewards are over, and it's like it's just more to explain. We can just easily just fix it and just get
yeah,
rid of it, and then we don't have to explain it. And then everybody sees it, and okay, that's what it is.
yeah.
Um,
If you want to do that change, I'm fine with it. At least my initial knee jerk, is I'd be fine with it, and we can just set it to 425.
okay.
And then be done
Yeah,
with it.
the infinite min thing is just another kind of way to sell it to nodes that like, hey, this would just be, other than doing it just for optics, this might also be a nice conservative thing to do, right? Just like protect,
Yeah, yeah,
cover our ass type deal.
yep.
So, all right, well, maybe I'll push that through. See, well, but, is everyone done talking about ADR 22? I hate always having topics overlapping each other, in Discord.
Yeah,
So,
I think ADR 22 is it's already kind of agreed upon.
okay.
I think everybody has what they wanted out of the situation.
All right, maybe I'll bring this up in Discord then, see if I can
Yep.
rally some interest and support, and if we get some people are on board, then maybe start putting the vote in the mirror. All right, cool.
The along the same kind of lines, like the other kind of discussion we could have is like what to do. Like I think there's like 74 million or something close to that in the reserve right now. And like
Yeah, so
you could burn that, right? You could put that to zero, and all of a sudden that 425 number becomes 350 or whatever the number is going to be, something along around that area.
I'm actually on board. I think Boone brought it up, and I know others in the community brought it up several times over as many months. At first, I was kind of against it because I was thinking it'll just look bad if we burn it all and then we need it and then we have to remint it. But
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
the reason not to
but
do it. Yeah,
yeah, but I'm like, but you know what? But this, I think that's wrong because, or I think I'm wrong because, I mean, like companies, businesses, they issue new shares, take on new debt all the time. They're always changing their capital structure, and it's not
yeah,
like
yeah.
it, not like it wrecks a business. People take that into account and they revalue the stock with the new change in the structure. Meanwhile, you keep your structure tight, right? You don't take on debt just for the sake of taking it on. You don't issue all these shares just for the sake of issuing them. So why don't we keep our token structure tight? And then if something does happen, we're like, oh shoot, you know what? We do need block rewards again, or we do need to do this or whatever. Then we just mint the tokens.
Hmm.
But meanwhile, we have our true max supply at whatever 350 million, 351 or something. It's a big that's a third lower than 500 million. That's a
Yeah,
big gap. That's a big and investors do see that, right? Because a lot of people in crypto, they just go straight to the total supply, right? Right to the max supply. How am I going to get diluted? Oh, they're going to dump on me. Even if I do change, we do agree on changing the total supply down to 425. That's still 75 million above the circulating supply. Everyone's gonna be like, oh, but they're going to dump. When's that coming liquid? You know what I mean? And they're just going to price everything out on the total supply. So I'm on board with that actually. I think and then yeah, I think you brought this up too, Chad, that if we do burn like say 95% of the reserve, maybe we keep just a little bit for whatever reason.
Right.
But we do decide one day we need to increase it again. That it's just going to be harder to do. Well, that does act as like a good keeping everyone honest, and it should be hard, right? It
hmm,
shouldn't be easy to do, and if the problem is big enough that we have to mint more tokens, the nodes will. I do trust the nodes; they'll pay attention. Was my internet buggy? Sorry, guys.
no, you're good.
No, you're
Um,
fine.
You're
Your
good.
audio is fine. Keep going.
the I do so far the nodes. I think when something needs to be done, they do act. And so if something needs to be done and we do need to mint tokens, they'll be involved. They'll talk about it and it will happen. And if it isn't that important, then maybe it's good for it not to happen. And we're
Yeah,
trusting the will of the majority. So yeah, I'm on board. I think it's a good idea.
yeah. I mean, argument I can make to kind of steelman this argument is that like the rune that's there now, that 75 million or whatever, 74 million, whatever the number is, like that's basically stuck there. Like it's not really going anywhere. It's not really doing anything. It requires like I can't just go in there myself and just like take the 75 million and like put it in my wallet or whatever. Like this, in order to do something with that, it would require nodes to vote. You know, have an ADR 23 or whatever the ADR number is going to be. And they're like, oh, we want to take out the 75 million. We want to take out 10 million rune to do this thing or whatever it is that we're talking about, whatever the situation is. And so whether those rune exist in the reserve or they don't exist in the reserve, like the situation is the same, and that we have to move tokens that are not in circulating supply. Either they're just not minted, or they are minted but just locked away in a wallet that can't be really moved anywhere. And and deal with that. So that's like one kind of steelman in one sense.
Can I also
That's you. Sorry, Mitch, if I just jump in. That's you understanding THORChain, right? I'm trying to think about somebody who's brand new, knows nothing about THORChain. They go look us up on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. They go straight to the total supply. They have
Yep.
no idea those 75 million tokens requires a vote, right? They just think it's coming out at some point. This is going to be dumped on me, and then it's kind of like when somebody has that like first impression, it takes so much work to try and unwind that and to correct it, as opposed to just them starting with the correct first impression to begin with. So I think it's much more valuable to us, to the network, to be like, hey, this, our total supply really is 351, and then have the caveat, well, we can always change it, right? As a as opposed to the
Yeah.
reverse, the
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
But keep in mind, we also have like the reverse problem of like, I've heard people complain in the past of like, oh, you can't change the rules. Like the supply is 350 million room. You can't increase it. Like there's kind of a mentality that like that rules can't change or protocol can't change or things like it's like, first of all, that's not the case in any protocol whatsoever in the world. Like any protocol can change any attribute that it wants to change. It just needs the nodes of the community to agree to a
yeah.
change, whatever it is, to enable a feature, to take off a feature, increase the supply, decrease the supply, increase the block time, decrease the block time. Like
But
all these things, anything could be changed at any time. It just requires nodes to
even
come.
Bitcoin's 21 million. Like,
Even
people
Bitcoin
don't get
21
that.
million,
That can change
that
too.
that could be
Yeah,
changed if they wanted
yeah,
to change it, right?
yeah.
It just requires the community to come together and to
Consensus.
agree to make the change. So
Yeah.
I just kind of have the caveat of like, I've heard people say argue this in the past that like once the blockchain does something, it can never be undone. It's just like no, anything can be undone. It just requires the right community members to come together, which is the nodes in this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
I would attack on there a little bit. So you wouldn't from you correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, or anyone, but you wouldn't want to burn the whole reserve, right? Maybe like have, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 million. Because like for example, 3.15.1, we had an update and there was a Bifrost issue and some nodes got unfairly slashed. So to reimburse those nodes that were unfairly slashed, isn't it a store migration from the reserve? So you would want maybe just a little reserve in there for occasional store migration. Of course, you can mint it
Well,
anytime.
in that case, you
Or
wouldn't
am I
need it
wrong about that?
because the rune moves from the bond module in that scenario to the reserve module. Like when you get slashed, you get the bond module, you remove the rune from the bond
Oh, yeah,
module and
yeah.
you add to the reserve module. And so what we're doing in that scenario is just like basically reverting the transaction from
Reverting.
so like we're adding it there and then we're kind of putting it back,
But isn't it? But to your point, Patriot, another feature, another thing, isn't there something like the network estimates the gas fees, and we charge a little bit more than the average, but sometimes we actually undercharge, and that difference actually comes from the reserve, and
Yes. So
so
like
there is a tiny bit of inflation sometimes.
not I wouldn't call it inflation. It's like the net we burn the reserve to pay for gas fees, right? But then we also we reimburse the reserve with gas fees that we collect from people, and we track how much we actually spend versus how much we, like versus we calculated we spend, and then we kind of like level it off or correct it over time, right? And there's also other ways like the reserve is touched in a lot of different ways. Like there can be income that comes to the reserve, like for example, like if we're over solvent in a particular token, we've got too much of this token for whatever reasons, there's now a code path which is currently disabled but might be turned on in the near future, where it can sweep that up and put it into the reserve or maybe even the treasury in that particular instance. Or we can do a thing where if we are over, if the reserve is over, then some amount, let's just call it like 74 million, and now we have 74 million 1,000. The 1,000 just bleeds as system income for the entire protocol, right? So like in the Ruji, for example, Ruji will have trade volume and it buys Rune and then it puts it into the reserve, right? That's how we collect the fees from Ruji. It goes into the reserve for the time being. I think the intention, at least the intention that I have, is that like I want the reserve to be a certain amount of Rune in it, whether that be 5 million Rune or 75 million Rune, whatever that's going to be. And then anything over the 75 million number, whatever that number is, it just gets secreted back into the protocol as system income. And it works identically the same to like the emission curve, like how we submit tokens and put the reserve. But the difference is the Rune comes into the reserve as income and then gets secreted back out to nodes. So it's not actually like emitting new coins or inflating the token at all, because we removed it from supply and then put it back into circulation.
Cool.
So there's like complexity around the reserve and like how Rune goes in and out. It happens in a dozen kind of small little ways. So we have to keep that in mind in the process. I don't even think you really need the 5 million Rune reserve. You could put it like 10,000 Rune and it would probably be like more than enough, hypothetically,
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, there you go. I like
That
that.
answers your point, though.
I think
But we do need to keep a
well,
reserve of something. Is like it's kind of what you're getting at, right, Patriot?
You need to reserve something because when we do our churn, for example, we have to send all these coins from one vault to another vault. Where does that gas come from? It comes from the reserve, right? We do spend the reserve to some small degree. It's very, very tiny.
Right.
Obviously, doesn't really like affect the coin at all. But like when we do a churn, we probably spend like a couple $100 or whatever it is on just moving Bitcoin and Ethereum and ERC20s and whatever it is the tokens are.
Well, maybe I should
Very good.
do
I
it
want
from
to.
ADR.
Oh, so
Is my internet buggy? I guess am I fine?
you're okay. Your audio comes in, but
Sorry,
the
guys.
recording will be okay. Hey, you need
Came in and-
Starlink. You need Starlink, buddy.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know if
I'm
it's
using
legal.
Starlink. They work great.
Oh yeah, nice. I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it
I've
is
used it for like 4 years now.
4
Maybe 3 or
years.
4 years, something like that.
Holy smokes!
I think so. 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's been a long time. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, the OG satellite works great.
Nice.
Real quick, I want to shout to the audience. Chad's here for another 30 minutes. So please, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, we try to be maximally transparent up here. We always want to have community feedback. If you guys have any questions, please submit them now while the man is here, because he does have to leave in 30 minutes. But we do appreciate your time as always, Chad. But yeah, get Starlink, Kenton. It works great. Think it'll be perfect for you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys see that interesting article? I think I saw it on maybe it was LinkedIn or Twitter that THORChain posted about the French sex that what happened? I have to find it now.
I'm not sure if I remember that.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
French sex.
I'm into it. I love French accents.
I'm into French.
Oh my god!
I'm curious.
So nothing to sound
French
Canadian,
tax
right?
agent.
Sometimes if I'd be on a help desk, like do a help call, and I'd get like a help agent in Quebec, I'm like, I could just be on this call all day long. So
their accent, the Canadian French accent's a little weird.
There's an article that between 2025 and 2026, the French experienced over 20 crypto-related kidnappings targeting holders whose personal financial information had been compromised. And in some cases, victims were tortured and millions were stolen. A French crypto tax software suffered a major hack, exposing 50,000 users recording their users' tax reports, holdings, email addresses, and shortly after, a French tax agent was arrested for selling confidential data on crypto holders. That's crazy.
Yeah, I remember that.
This is why we say KYC means kill your customer. That's what it means, right? I mean, it's just we need privacy, right? Need privacy. This is not a
Well,
hard issue. And yeah, go ahead.
sorry. No, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, you cannot trust anybody with this information. Which is Chad just said right there. You have a government official that is using this information in a nefarious way. There is no third party you should ever trust with your financial information at all. It's done. I
Yeah.
mean, this is not. It's a time I really. This is why I think, Chad, to your point, this is why I'm so happy with THORChain. It's why I keep going. I love this protocol so much. What we're building here. We've got it correct. We have the formula correct here. We've followed all the first principles. We're just ahead of the curve. And when you're ahead of the curve, it's always frustrating that we just don't feel like people are uptaking enough. But we're doing all the right things, you guys. Anyone listening to this live, like we've got to figure out, especially with Rajira and the app layer and the redacted privacy layer on there. We're way ahead of the curve. Way ahead of the curve. It's just gonna
That's what I
take a
love
minute.
about you guys in the THORChain community. They really understand, like, no KYC isn't about just, being a rebel or being bad. Like, they truly understand how it is bad. That like these scams they're getting pretty darn good now. Like, I get spam emails. And I'm like, I really have to stop and read. I'm like, is this legitimate or not? And I can only imagine, grandma, or Auntie Sue or whatever, like, they don't stand a
Yeah, yeah,
chance. Right. And then
yeah,
especially now with like AI voice, like,
yeah. Even
they're gonna
better.
get it
Yeah,
right. And like they're gonna get a call from, their grandson, like, I'm in trouble, I need help, grandma. And like, well, of course, whatever you need. Oh, you need $5,000. Okay, I'll do it. Right. Like, I mean, those scams already exist, but
Yes.
humans are doing it, but you put in AI voice and they've got access to your data. And like, oh my God, like, the average person doesn't stand a chance.
yeah. It's
For
gonna get.
example, I'm a public official. My phone number is public record. Someone could take my voice right now from this interview, use AI tool to mimic it. If they figure out my mother's phone number, my mom's really old, right? Absolutely. It's just AI. I'm in trouble. I need this. And absolutely. It's a
This
terrible,
is
terrible
actually,
time for these old.
you brought up a good point. Cause like, so what do we do? So do we all just stop talking? We don't do these podcasts anymore because we're worried
Right.
about us getting our stuff getting stolen. And then all that does is create this totally insular, we're all disconnected from each other. You don't trust anything or anyone, and we're just become, prisoners of our own homes, basically, right? We have to be able to do this. We have to be able to talk and be out there and be open and whatever. And the only way to do that is to better security, better protection, right? And like, not have to give up all this freaking KYC. Um, so
It's
I
so
believe I'm
obvious.
on.
It's so obvious that's correct, right?
Yeah.
But the powers that be, they're not going to surrender this powerful leverage they have over us. This regulatory framework of KYC. It's a play for power. That's all it is. That's
Yeah.
all it's ever going to be. But I believe the economic incentives, the raw power of our first principles, eventually is going to lead to a transition. It's like
Yeah,
the first country that open not open sources, but their stocks are on the open market, in a blockchain, the competitive market advantage of that, right? Like, I want to be able to invest in a silver mine in Mexico without anyone telling me anything. Like, I don't care, right? Whatever it is, or maybe in Argentina, or I'm going to listen to Kenton, where are the silver mines at, buddy? He's going to know, you know what I mean?
You're right,
Or he's a
Mexico. Yeah.
right, they're Mexico, right? Or hey, Kenton, petroleum engineer, like what is the best company to invest? Whatever, it doesn't matter, it's just pure freedom, pure economic freedom is what we need.
Wait a
yeah, yeah.
second. How do you know I was a petroleum engineer? How do you know I was in
You've
mining? How
said
do you
it.
know?
You've
How do you
said it.
know all this stuff?
You've said it multiple times, my friend. Yeah.
Any questions from the audience?
I don't think so. Oh well, there is a question. I don't know. It's kind of a little personal about the whole interaction you had online, chat. I don't know if you want to answer that or not. It's kind of like a DM conversation, so I'm not going to put your feet to the fire on that one.
Well, to be fair,
But
like it's not my conversation. Like
yeah,
what they're talking about is like their conversation with other people that I don't have any details
right,
to
right.
what happened.
So
So
exactly. He said, she said kind of thing. And
yeah, yeah,
those are just not worth my time.
yeah.
I don't think we have any questions from the audience. Is there anything else, Chad, that you think we need to talk about that we may have missed or anything like that? Anything is exciting? Maybe, I don't know, if Solana might be coming on live soon. I don't know. Anything at all you can think of?
Yeah, Solana's coming on. Zcash is probably going to be merged into this 316.
Ooh.
We actually might also merge. I think maybe you actually already have. I have to go look, but Polygon I think also get merged into 316 as well. We have Star Squid that's been really pushing hard to add more chain clients to THORChain. So adding more chains is something we want to be doing a lot more of in 2026. Um,
Okay, I have a question.
yeah,
So I do hear this a lot. I'm sorry I didn't think about it.
yeah,
People want to know, how's the chain client team doing? Do you feel like they're, because it takes months and months to learn? Do you feel like they're really there? They're ready to start
yeah.
going to chain at
No, they're doing
overdrive?
great. They're
Okay,
doing great. Like they're churning out chain clients faster than we could probably even add to the network. To be honest with you, so they're doing
good
great.
problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have for sure. So, they got Ton. What is it like? They have Ton opened. I think it's the other one. What else? I think I might be missing one more. Zcash. Um,
An
you probably
Arbitrum, I
find
thought. Ton and
Arbitrum might be
Arbitrum.
another one. Here, I just do author is Star Squid. Cardano, Sui. Polygon's already merged, actually, come to think of it. And Zcash will probably get merged soon. So we got lots of things being added in the short period. So after we get done with Solana, Zcash will probably be next. It's like that's definitely by far the highest demand chain after that point. And then it comes in maybe Polygon or Ton or whatever. We'll figure it from that point on. But we got more chains coming for sure.
And this is great because STO is going to get whatever Chad's THORChain and Maya protocol add, of course, that'll go on STO. And I know we've lost some volume because we didn't have Solana and we were using a third party. Now that'll be natively on THORChain. So I'm really excited for that on STO. I know Kenton's probably really excited too, because we have now a whole other community that we can market to. Right. So when Solana goes live, I'm going to try and get on some Solana spaces and reach out to the community. I don't know anyone in Solana really, except people who are tangentially related in THORChain. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And every other chain we had too. That was a long list you just gave there, Chad. I hope that makes the community excited.
Yeah, hope so. Yeah, we got a lot of things in flight for sure. And like I said, like I'm looking to hire so we can add more people to the team and get more things done, in a sense. So lots of things happening for sure. I think Router V6 is probably coming out, probably launching next week, I think. I hope next week. That's gonna be pretty good. Um
And that's memoless for long tails, right?
uh
They
Memos for
can do
the outbound.
for
Memos
the
Outbound
yes,
is part of that.
yes.
Yep, that's gonna be there as well. Um what else? What else? Uh, we literally this release 316, like we're gonna have it
It's a
looks like
big
we're going to
one.
have 60 MERS changes, plus whatever happens between now and when we actually cut the release, which is probably another 5 or another 10. So it's like it's been very really busy, busy couple weeks.
I love it.
It's
I
awesome.
love it. I
Yeah.
really feel like we're getting on this really good train right now.
And
And then little shout out to Rajira, THORChain's app layer. There's hey, I got OG vibes from this. You remember the Chad? Raise the caps.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Raise the
the
caps.
chant the chant has started on the Rajuran side with the lending. Looks like Code Hans has said, the audits are done, we're ready to go. So pretty exciting. Things are going to be moving a lot. I mean, February's been a big month, and we're only 12 days in.
Yep.
Hallelujah! I love it.
And sorry, Chad, just to go back to like you say Zcash going out with 3.16, that doesn't mean the pool is going to be live. It'll just the code will be there
Yes.
and the code will be live for a while. We'll see how it goes and make sure there's no issues. There'll still be a while before the actual pool is established and people can
Yes.
trade. Right.
It'll probably be another month, I would guess, at minimum. Because
Yeah.
once we have it live in the code, then we have to spin up the new chain client on the chain net, which is a different network, like a test net or a stage net. And then it has to be launched there, and we have to test it there, like with the real chains and real data and real crypto, and start doing trades and swaps and whatever else, make sure that all the everything works. I expect it to be pretty smooth for Zcash specifically because we've already done it, or not we, but Maya's already done it on the Maya side, and so there's some overlap there. I've already kind of vetted code to some degree, so I expect it to be pretty smooth sailing on this. Solana's different. Solana's like a lot more complicated. There's just like it's a very different chain than any other chain we've added. So there's a lot more uniqueness to it, and therefore requires a lot more time, effort, and energy to validate and get it all working correctly, and then convincing the network to figure out, like all the nodes got to figure out where they're going to get their Solana data from, because running their own Solana node while possible is like overtly complicated and expensive, and most people don't have the infrastructure to support something like that. So it's a much longer time scale to get that one launched. Zcash, I would imagine to be smoother. Same thing with Polygon. Polygon's just another EVM chain, so it's kind of like copy and paste to some degree. So those would be, I think, faster moving chain clients.
Cool.
I have a question. We talk about opt-in chain clients. I did talk with some people in the Regeria, and they're a little nervous, with opt-in chain clients and behaviors and app layer. I don't want to necessarily get into that, but I was curious, can you have an opt-in chain client where you have a standard set that are mandatory, but only specific ones that are opt-in, like maybe like a Monero or like a privacy coin like Zcash or something else, or if you do opt-in chain clients, they all sort of are kind of opt-in?
I mean, in the current design, everything's opt-in. So when that feature does go live at some point in the future, which it's not happening anytime soon, to be honest with you, because Intense is probably going to happen first, and that's a big major feature that takes a lot of time to vet whatnot. But when that does in the current design, is that like everybody when it launches, everybody by default opts into all current chains at that particular time, which is what it is already. And then each individual node can say, I want to opt out of Bitcoin. I want to opt out of Zcash. I want to opt out of whatever they want to do. And then when we add a new chain, client after that point, people have to opt in to support the new Polygon or the new, SUI or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I don't see any other questions. Kenton, do you have anything else at all? If there's nothing else, we could
we can
let
we can
Chad go
keep this.
20 minutes early.
Yeah, exactly. We keep this
Get back to work on Huginn. No.
short and sweet for us, under 2 hours. That'll be nice. Yeah.
That's a miracle. No,
Yeah.
very cool. Well, there's so much to talk about. There's so many things happening. It's a really, really exciting time to be in THORChain. And I know the app layer kids, they're getting really excited too. So it's super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
guys.
cool. I don't think we have anything else. Guys, let's see here. We're going to have, oh gosh, let me see here and bring up my thingy majigger here. We're going to have speaking of the app layer, we're going to have Auto Regeria joining us on Saturday. It's basically an automated system for all the primitives on the app layer, guys. So, when it comes to trading, leverage, all this stuff, you can basically make it autonomous. So things can be happening on the app layer while you're sleeping. It's going to be really, really cool. Super exciting. I know that is something that's people have been really curious about. So we're going to be breaking that down on Saturday. Other than that, guys, please make sure, share this live stream, share all the resources, whether it's live or the recording. We need to tell people what we built here at THORChain. It's absolutely incredible. And one last shout out. If you are a Go developer, or if you know somebody who may have skills, please tell them that Chad is looking for some talent. We want to build THORChain. We're building a lot of cool things, and we need all the help we can get. So if you know anybody, reach out, tell them, bring them here. We want all the talent in THORChain because this is where the cool stuff is being built. There ain't nobody doing anything else like we're doing. THORChain and Maya, that's where the cool kids are, let me tell you. With that being said, guys, Kenton, Chad, do you guys have anything else before we wrap?
Oh,
that's great, man. Thank you.
All right. Everyone have a great rest of your work week. We'll see you next time. Remember, make your wife happy. And remember to bond your rune. Very, very important. It's so important. Okay.
This is getting worse and worse.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.